What? I'm baffled. Consume. From the Warnings new album, Keep Me Fed. Official lyrics video, first time reaction. There will be a lot of pausing, so be warned. I'm getting into this reaction with the expectation of the song being about the incessant need of the modern person to consume. Perhaps the song will specify a particular type of consumption, like consuming content, scrolling on phones, maybe consuming food, maybe consuming other things. We are consuming a lot of stuff these days. And also, Spotify has an explicit mark on that song, so I expect naughty words to be used, or at least one. So without further ado, let's consume some content. Kick drum, yeah.
You sink your teeth and leave me on for another. You're self-sorted, but you keep it undercover. Let's paint it apart and all alone in a garden. You willingly participate. You crack a smile and close your eyes and disassociate. Living the problem, but you know you're still a part of it. You hate that you're part of it, hate that you're part of it. Watch me, touch me, pull the strings like you do. Love me, hate me. Am I worth it to you? Shovel it down my throat, wash it down.
What? She went hip hop mode. Oh my god. I'm baffled for no specific reason other than this was verse 1, pre-chorus and chorus, and it's been only 1 minute. They just shot through that. Wow. Alright, this time I intend to go to the whole song and then try and make complete sense of the lyrics. But as I go through it, a couple of things that I noticed. It seems like the speaker of the song is whatever is being consumed. That's my initial guess, and I'll talk more about that later unless I change my mind about it. I did notice that whoever's singing stutters, they repeat some things. I'm not sure why, and I have no idea why this line exists. I wear my skin like the burden it is. I'll think about it more later. But I can already tell this has some very, in my opinion, cutting and accurate commentary about consuming in the modern sense. Very interesting. Let's see how they transition to the second verse. I love the beat.
I can't point the finger at you anymore. I couldn't die as the martyr. Now I've become the green little fucker. Sink my teeth and bid you all for another. Just self-started, but I keep it undercover. Let's spin it apart and alone in a garden. I willingly participate. I crack a smile and close my eyes and disassociate. Living the problem, but I know I'm still a part of it. I hate that I'm part of it, hate that I'm part of it. Watch me, touch me, pull the strings like you do. Love me, hate me. Am I worth it to you? Shoulder it down my throat, wash it down with remorse. Make me be perfect for you.
That was cool. They evolved the song. Okay, so it's probably not the thing that's being consumed, but maybe someone who creates that, who then joins the problem. Because in the first part, the speaker criticizes the people who consume. And again, I'll go more in depth about that later. In the second verse, I couldn't die as the martyr, now I become the greedy little fucker. That change up is so cool to me. And they went into it so fast. This whole song seems like it goes so fast. Also here it says that there's guitar solo coming up into immediate chorus, again into old outro. Oh my god, this song just flies by. Whatever the case, I also wanted to mention before I forget, because I already forgot once, lips painted and parted, alone and unguarded. I like that. Parted and unguarded rhyme, and it just makes the thing sound so nice. Alright, guitar solo, let's go.
Love me, hate me. Am I worth it to
They said the line. To be fair, I expected this to be repeated a bit more. It was 3 minutes, right? So it's standard length for a song, as far as I'm aware. That felt like it went by in like a minute and a half. The guitar solo was nice. Maybe on further listens it will blow me away, but currently it didn't. It sounds good. Was a nice tune there. But after having heard the guitar solos of Satisfied, Escapism, and Apologize was pretty good as well, I think. Although I'm probably not being fair, I should get the context of the song and then hear it again. Speaking of which, I'm gonna do some thinking now, and then I'll go over the lyrics, which honestly, they seem pretty simple. As if you look at it all of this is pretty much the same thing, including the outro. Alright, I have concocted something that I think works, but before I get to that, I wanna go through the song again and see if I get any new revelations. Also, pay more attention to the music, because that song really felt like it went by very fast. And I checked the length of the other songs in the album. The only ones that are noticeably longer, meaning not by 3 to 5 seconds, those would be Burnout, Escapism, and Apologize. So the song's length is pretty normal, but it went by so fast. I love kick drum part, so I really enjoy this opening.
I wear my skin like the burden it is. Knowingly thoughtless, I do it regardless. It's a machine, I'm the one running it. Go through the motions, consume all devotion.
That's the verse 1, up to the pre-chorus, very chill. I'm not sure I would call it mellow, but there isn't really any part, aside from the cutting lyrics, that's in my face. Okay, now they transition into the pre-chorus. Let's see how they do that.
Ocean. You greedy little fucker. You sink your teeth and leave me on it for another. You're self-sorry, but you keep it undercover.
Sorry, I have no idea. It's very fast, I can't focus. And I was also enjoying the way that they picked up, that was really nice. The drums. I have a confession to make. I'm so unmusical in this point of my life that most of the time, unless there's something very specific that's happening, like the kick drum or some part that's only drums, I don't hear the drums. And most of the times I don't hear the bass either. But here I heard them. It was really nice. And the way that she sings, I wonder how they did that. Was that like a real voice? Could she speak like that in a conversation? Or was there something, when it comes to the wording specifically, I always think about live, because live they're so much better. And that's not to say that studio is not good, just live is on another level. So I wonder if they're using some filter, they can't do that live. So maybe it's not a filter. Maybe she can just sing like that. Let me hear it again.
You greedy little fucker. You sink your teeth and leave me on it for another. You're self-sorry, but you keep it undercover.
I forgot to pay attention to the words again. I don't know what that is. It sounds good though. It gives a vibe, but I cannot put a word to that vibe. But it does work very well with how fast she's singing.
You greedy little fucker. You sink your teeth and leave me on it for another. You're self-sorry, but you keep it undercover. Let's paint it apart and all on in a garden. You willingly participate. You crack a smile and close your eyes and disassociate. Let me live problem, but you know you're still a part of it. You hate that you're part of it. Hate that you're part of it.
Okay, I think I kind of get the vibe, like I can put the words to it, but that word comes from the pacing of the singing more than anything else. It seems like someone who's upset about something and they're just going at it very fast, which works with why I assume that they've done the stuttering, the repetitions. I think they did that I, and it's, and later again, I. I think they did that as a call out to the way that people consume content specifically in this day and age, which is a lot of scrolling at very rapid pace. You just go scroll, 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 scroll. That's so fast, and it gets your brain getting new inputs at such short intervals that it messes with your mind and it makes it go faster from one thing to another, but faster not being a good thing in this case. I can't cite any studies and I don't have specific memory of someone specific saying that, but I do remember that I have heard it said that the way we consume content, specifically again the very rapid switch from one to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other, has a strong relation to the onset of ADHD in modern people. Because we just can't hold our attention on anything for more than a few seconds, because that's how we consume content. And maybe that's what they try to portray with the rapid pacing of the speaking and the stuttering. That's my headcanon anyway. If you have any other explanation, please let me know. I love discovering new interpretations of things, especially things that I think that I have figured out. Okay, now let's see how they go into the chorus, because normally that's extra. You have the verse, and then you prep the chorus with the pre-chorus, but all of that just leads into the chorus, so it's the end point in a way.
Watch me, touch me, pull the strings like you do. Love me,
I just went into it. I'm not even sure they changed anything in the way that they did the music and the pacing of the speech. Okay, I'll play you a snippet from the pre-chorus, and then we can hear the chorus. In the chorus, it seems to me that they accent things with drums and other instruments, but mostly what stood out to me was the drums in between the lines. Whereas in the pre-chorus, they just went line, 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 line. Okay, so a little bit of pre-chorus. It's the same instrumentals in between all of those things. After that, in the chorus, pay attention to the instrumentals in between the lines. And then after this, the singing changes as well. So good. She did hold that note very well. And then again with the quick pacing, I expect they'll go into the verse pretty quickly. And the verse is very quick, very short, and it leads straight into the pre-chorus. What I mean by that is, now I've become the greedy little fucker. That's literally one sentence. If I'm right, and they really did the pacing of the song to showcase what's happening to our attention and what's happening in our brains from the rapid consumption, I will be mightily impressed. Okay, a bit of instrumentals. That was so nice as well. And a funny tidbit to consider for that, where she does the I mostly edit those out, but sometimes I don't. If you have seen any other videos, maybe in this one as well, I do that a lot, where I'm gonna choke on my words because I try to say a word while I'm saying a word. I'm a modern day person. I don't even scroll that much. Imagine how bad I would be if I consumed content like mad. Actually, don't imagine that. That's not pretty. The vocals have gone a bit lower, I think, which given what she's saying is really nice because it makes it sound more like she's given up, which is exactly what she's saying. Here, of course, it goes up because she's upset about it. Very nice. If you consider the emotion behind the words, it really makes sense how she's singing it. Now, I went back and I quickly checked. It sounds to me that the pre-choruses sound the same, aside from the changed words, of course. And I would like to say two things. First, they have done it again. This doesn't sound like anything else they've made before, that I have heard at least. And still it sounds good. The more I hear it, the more I go with the flow of it, because it's fast, and perhaps the first time that I heard it, it went very fast, and I just didn't know what was happening. Now I'm just grooving with it, and it's nice. Second thing that I wanted to say, that was actually all the first one. I hate that I'm part of it with a backdrop of donuts. Not sure if it was on purpose, but if it was, good job. Good job. Because of course, food, especially the overly stimulating and not very satiating food, is another one of the big things that we overconsume in this day and age. Okay, chorus 2. Let's see if anything changes. Watch me, touch me, pull the strings like you do. Love me, hate me, am I worth it to you? So far the same. Now last time they changed it in between those two lines. Maybe there's something that I'm missing, but broadly speaking it sounds the same. It really sounded the same. Now let's get into the solo again. The beginning of it is really nice. That bit also I liked. Okay, maybe that's just my mind being stuck on one concept that I thought was very cute, but I would have expected the soul to be faster. just to keep up with the rapid pace of the lyrics and the stuttering, which again, maybe I'm wrong, maybe that's not what they meant, and maybe that's why I'm trying to insert something in the soul that shouldn't be there. And again, if I'm not correct, there's something that makes more sense, yada yada, let me know in the comments. I would love to know that, especially because it might improve my listening of the song. That's always nice. But the soul, even though it had some bits that I liked, kind of felt lacking. Let's hear it again. I'm gonna give it another chance. Also, the opening bit, which is about to play, gives me Oriental vibes. Just the opening. I don't know why. I don't really listen to much Oriental music, but I have heard some somewhere to make my brain think about it. It's nice.
Perfect for you.
This. I've just connected the dots in my brain that the souls that stand out to me are the ones that connect to my image and feeling of the song. And if they don't, I usually don't pay much attention to them. And this one just doesn't connect, which again might be on my side. And also I should mention, I like it, especially some of the bits, it just doesn't stand out.
Watch me, touch me, pull the strings like you do. Love me, hate me, am I worth it to you? Shovel it down, like throw, wash it down with remorse. Make me be perfect for you.
Aside from Keep Me Fed, that sounded pretty much the same as the other choruses. I'm listening out for the instrumental beats in between the lines and the way that she sings, shovel it down my throat, wash it down with remorse. Maybe there's some subtle changes that I'm not intuitively noticing, but it sounds kind of the same. But Keep Me Fed is a very nice line to add in there. And also, if I'm not mistaken, it cut the wash it down with remorse shorter than the previous ones.
Love me, hate me, am I worth it to you? Shovel it down, like throw, wash it down with remorse.
So I guess the Keep Me Fed is backing vocal.
Wash it down with remorse. Make me be perfect for you. Make me be perfect for you. Make me be perfect for you.
Right, this bit in between the chorus and the outro is closer to the pace I would have expected from the soul. A lot more busy, you hear? Good song, I would say. It's very pleasant listen in the way that it flows. I like it. But what does it mean? Now let's get our heads together and untangle this. I'll tell you what I think, and then if you disagree with something or agree, that's fine as well. You let me know. Alright, let's go over the lyrics. I already talked about why I think they do the repetition. I won't go over that again. The I, it's, and the other I's. But the rest of verse 1 and the first two lines from the pre-chorus tell me that the speaker is someone who creates whatever is being consumed. Now, I'm going to stick with content creation because we're on YouTube and we're listening to music. So I think it's very apt, but this could apply to other businesses that optimize things for rapid consumption, such as the food industry making food that's more tasty, that's more addictive, and that is less satiating, which means we eat a lot of it and we get a lot of calories from it, but we don't feel full. So we eat more of it because that optimizes their profits. But again, I'll stick to the examples with content creation. The speaker will be someone who's creating content, and the reason I think that is because of the lines, I'm the one running it, referring to the machine of the consumer. And also, you sink your teeth in, bleed me out, look for another. This sounds like something that a creator would say. It makes sense in that context. Now, to go over the specific lines, I was initially stumped by the first line, I wear my skin like the burden it is. And I'm still not entirely sure what this means, but what I concluded was that skin is what we're all covered in. It's basically the way that we present ourselves to the world in this metaphor. Meaning, if this is a content creator, their skin would be the way that they show themselves to the world, meaning the content that they create, which they feel is a burden because As shown in the song, they seem generally unhappy about the state of content and consumption of the content. And also the chorus, love me, hate me, am I worth it to you? Clearly there's some mixed feelings about the creation of content. Knowingly thoughtless, I do it regardless. In this interpretation, it's just a follow-up of I keep creating content and I'm being burdened by it, which they consider to be a thoughtless act because, again, they have seen through what consumption does to the normal people. The reason I say normal people is tied to the lyrics a bit further down. So they know that what they're doing is thoughtless, but they do it regardless. The next line is where the speaker shows their insight of the situation, which is it's your machine, but I'm the one running it. Clearly that means machine being the life, attention, whatever you want to call it, of other people, the consumers that the creators are running, because that's just how everything is optimized to capture attention. Go through the motions, consume all devotion could be talking to the consumer or to the speaker. If it's talking to the speaker, they're saying that they're going through the motion and consuming all of their devotion to create what they're creating, presumably. But I personally prefer the interpretation where this is aimed at the consumer, because they go through the motions, meaning the scrolling or whatever they do to consume, eating food or whatever it is. Consume all devotion is, well, the consumer consuming all the devotion that's been presented in front of them. Again, using content creation as an example, someone has devoted time, energy, whatever, creativity to create something and they just consume it as it goes. But then that falls very neatly to you greedy little fucker, because if they're talking about the person consuming, they say you consume all devotion, you greedy little fucker. It just works as a sentence. You sink your teeth in, bleed me out, look for another. That's very simple to understand, but the understanding can be enhanced if you just look at the consumer as a vampire. Sink your teeth in as a vampire would, bleed me out as a vampire would, look for another as a vampire would. And the notation on the website is certain people participate in consumerism by doing exactly this. They entertain themselves with something until they get bored and move on to the next thing. In doing this, they consume what they were entertained by and bleed out the entertainers, which is the interpretation that I'm going with as well. There is stuff for slaughter, but you keep it undercover. If we consider the previous line, slaughter will be bleeding entertainment out or entertainers. But you keep it undercover, to me, that means that the consumer doesn't understand that they're doing that, or they don't go in with that intention. Or perhaps it refers to the daily lives of people who are, let's say, avid consumers, who you wouldn't think that they are that just by looking at them. So perhaps they're undercover when they're with other people, but at any point they're ready to pull out the phone and keep scrolling. I'm not entirely sure how much undercover consumerism is these days, especially when we're talking about digital entertainment. I'm sure you've all noticed people just being on their phone and scrolling all the time, but that's one potential interpretation of this line as well. Now, lips painted and parted, alone and unguarded. I like this one because the way that I see it, lips painted refers to bleeding out entertainers, meaning if you just suck the blood out of something and your lips are still painted, that shows the time. Right, the time frame. You bleed something out and immediately after, while your lips are still painted, they're also parted, which means they're ready to consume more. The way that I view this is as a comment on how rapidly we go from one content to another, to another, to another. Alone and unguarded to me basically means defenseless, which means how well optimized everything is to be consumed. It just leaves people defenseless. You have to put in a lot of effort to be able to fight that. But of course, the person that the speaker is talking to, they willingly participate. You crack a smile and close your eyes and disassociate, which means they happily engage with consumerism and then they close their eyes and disassociate, which to me is an indication of getting high, even if the person is getting high on the dopamine that their brain creates. Food and online entertainment can both be addictive, and I think that's what this represents. Blaming the problem would be someone going online and making a video and discussing how people stay on their phones and how that's a problem and how it creates attention deficits and whatnot, but still being a part of it because, hey, they not only make those videos, they also watch that kind of videos. Or to keep it to the example that I keep giving, people who see everybody being on their phones and scrolling, who also get on their phones and start scrolling, and they hate that they do that. That's probably most people these days, in the Western world at least. I have a funky idea about the choruses. It goes as follows. The first one is sung by the speaker as a content creator. Watch my content, judge it, pull the strings like you do, meaning guide where my content goes through your attention. Love me, hate me, am I worth it to you is just an explanation of how pulling the strings works. Shovel it down my throat, wash it down with remorse would be taking this, the feedback that the creator receives, being shoved down their throat and washed down with remorse, where the remorse is, okay, I see what works, I hate doing it because I see the problem, but make me be perfect for you. Optimize me, I'll do it. In verse 2, things change. I can't point the finger at you anymore. I couldn't die as the martyr. Now I've become the greedy little fucker. And this is why I mentioned in here that the speaker likely doesn't see themselves as the other people. They don't view themselves as a consumer because they view themselves as a martyr. And actually I went and checked some definitions and colloquial uses of the word martyr. And strictly speaking, I don't think this is the correct word, but that doesn't mean that the speaker doesn't view themselves as a martyr. Because perhaps in their eyes, if let's say they walk into a restaurant or something and they sit down and they see everybody around them just going zombie mode on the phones and they don't do it, and then they suffer as a result because they're not getting the dopamine that everybody else around them is. Now, is that blown out of proportion to Corey's martyrdom? I would say yes. But again, it's very possible that the speaker doesn't view it that way. They think that in abstaining as best as they can, they're trying to fight the problem in some way, make a change, which I would say is a bit hypocritical for someone who is creating content that other people consume. But at the same time, I think it would be very easy to view one as, okay, this is my job, this is what I do, and the other as, okay, this is how I spend my time, and just separate the two. The human brain is capable of doing that kind of things. Although perhaps there's something more obvious. I tried very hard to make sense of this bit without the speaker being a creator of anything, and I just don't think it works very well. Why would the speaker be the one running it, and why would they be bled out if they're not creating? But then why would they view themselves as a martyr? The best explanation I have right now is because they're suffering in trying to not be part of what they see is not good. Even if they create, they isolate the creation and the consumption, and they try very hard not to be part of the consumption, but of course they fail. And then the pre-chorus becomes first person, but besides that, it's exactly the same. I won't go over it. Now, the last two choruses, as I said, I have decided, because it's more fun in my head, to view them differently compared to the first chorus. So in the first chorus, I chose to see it as the speaker saying those things as someone who creates. But in the last two, I choose to read those lines as someone who is speaking as a consumer. So all of those lines would be a consumer talking to the system of consumerism in the modern day world, meaning they're being watched and judged by the system in the form of statistics, presumably, which means somebody is paying attention to the statistics. They're making judgment based on those statistics, how much they watch, how quickly they scroll away, blah, 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 how do we get their attention, what kind of advertisement do we put to them, that kind of things. And then the system pulls the strings because they adjust things to make them easier to consume, more addictive. The system becomes more effective. Love me, hate me, am I worth it to you in this context would be the consumer asking if they're being a good consumer. Am I behaving as you want me to? Am I paying attention to the things that you want me to pay attention to? Am I clicking on the ads? Am I buying the right things? Force it all down my throat and wash it down with remorse, but this time it's remorse for being part of the problem, for being a consumer. Make me be perfect for you is guide my thoughts and actions through the content that you serve to me. Slightly nudge me in the direction you want me to go so I can serve your purpose better. Consume more, spend more money, and other words synonymous to consume. Lastly, I might be stretching a little bit here again, but keep me fed is such a fantastic line to add here, close to the end of the song, because we've seen someone who did not engage in consumerism, even if they provided it, who hated it, was morphed by it, who started engaging in it, and who is now an absolute addict, to the point where consumerism to them has become a need. And that's how I choose to view Keep Me Fed. Feeding is something that is required by our biological systems to sustain life, meaning we need it. We don't just want it, we need it to continue functioning. And consumerism has become that. That may not be what they were going for with this line, but I do think it works really well, and I do think it's, again, a cutting commentary on the modern day world that I choose to view it that way. It's really nice, and it is extra good as a title of the album. Overall, I would say to me Consume is a nice song with cool pacing that offers unique listening experience compared to the rest of the songs by The Warning, and it also showcases and critiques perhaps the most important modern day vice. The story, the song that my mind interpreted and the way that it was presented, meaning the stuttering and the quick pace, is quite neat, and I enjoyed dedicating brain power to it. That's about it. See ya, take care.